This episode is brought to you by VMGVinyl.com. Professional record cleaning, restoration, rejuvenation, and grading. Refresh your records with VMGVinyl.com.
And now, on with the show.
Welcome to The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. Here's your host, the biggest record nerd of them all, Nate Goyer.
Oh, well, hey, everyone. Welcome to episode 451 of The Vinyl Guide. And apologies, it's a bit late. I've been traveling throughout Southern California for the last few weeks, and I stupidly forgot some of the key audio files on my home computer. But hey, we do what we got to do. Cobble it together, and I think we got a really good episode here. Before we get into it, I really want to thank everyone who's connected while I've been here in town, having fun in Southern California. All the record shops, Parker at Cream Tangerine, Alex of Record Safari, Lance at Permanent Records, Davey at One Look Vintage. Of course, stopping by shops like Grady's in Ventura, Boho in Santa Clarita, and of course, Vinyl Solution in Huntington Beach, and about a dozen others. Apologies if I haven't listed you here. Oh, everyone at the Orange County Record Show. That was huge. The Pasadena Swap Meet. Even my lifelong friends, Mickey, Joey, and of course, Max, who drove several hours just to hang out in Burbank and eat round table pizza with their boy Nate. Thank you so much, guys, for all your hospitality, everything you do. My travel partner, Brad from Black Pug Skateboards. We've had a blast, and it ain't over yet. However, today, I want to share a fascinating discussion I had with Discogs founder and CEO Kevin Lewandowski and their chief operating officer, Lloyd Starr. We talk about the data of Discogs and the features and how to manage the platform, the architecture. I mean, Kevin and Lloyd, these guys lead the team and the strategy for Discogs and base so much of what they do around the needs and the feature requests of the Discogs community. And of course, reviewing that data that is generated through the use of the system. We talk all about the architecture moving to the cloud. We talk about the role of AI in Discogs, new features, and the thinking of where Discogs could go in the future. It's a pretty fascinating discussion, and I do hope that each of you enjoy. Also to note, there is an extended version of this interview up at patreon.com/vinylguide. Head up there now for more nerd talk. And of course, they're commercial free and high resolution. You Patreon legends who are already up there and active, you are awesome. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. Everyone else, you can too. Patreon.com/vinylguide. And I appreciate the consideration. And with that, let's talk to Discogs CEO and founder Kevin Lewandowski and Chief Operating Officer Mr. Lloyd Starr about the data of Discogs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this week we have a few guests on, both from Discogs. Kevin Lewandowski, did I say that right, Kevin?
That's right. Hi.
Kevin Lewandowski, founder, CEO of Discogs. The guy who used to have the Discogs server in his closet or under his bed humming away in the early days. And then Kevin Starr, COO, Chief Operating Officer of Discogs. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. Now, before we cut into it, just for folks who may not know corporate speak, difference between CEO and COO.
Yeah, I guess, well, I'm CEO. I'm also the founder. So I created the product, created Discogs, and had the vision for it, and still focused on the vision and bringing that to reality. Okay.
So you, as a CEO, you have the vision, and of course you're a founder as well. Not all CEOs are founders, but you've got the vision, Discogs vision. And Lloyd, as the operating officer, he's the guy that helps enact that vision. Is that fair?
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. People are just wondering who they're going to send their resumes to, I'm sure. Okay. So look, we'll cut right into it. I think all of us use Discogs perhaps several times a day. Give us a quick history of what brought you to create Discogs, Kevin. Just a couple of minutes on what was the problem you were trying to solve.
Okay. So I'll go way back to the late 90s, or maybe even before that. I've always been interested in computers. I was taking computer science classes in high school, and tinkering with things like making video games, and I was in programming competitions, and I was interested in music too a lot. And in college, I got more and more into music. One of my roommates in college was in a band. He was really into industrial, And I had a friend in college who was a DJ at raves. He played techno and got me interested in that. I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. So like at the same time, I'm working on my computer science degree. I'm also super into music and wanting to get into DJing. And when I graduated and got a job and a paycheck, first thing I did was buy my 2 Technics turntables and a mixer and started buying records on a regular basis, probably weekly. Yeah, and then I had been active on internet mailing lists before they had forums and Facebook and stuff like that. Most online communication was over email and mailing lists and Usenet groups. So I was really active on some of those music-related groups, talking about music and asking people questions like what are the gaps, or trying to figure out the gaps in discographies of obscure record labels, things like that. And people had been talking about, wouldn't it be cool if we had an IMDb of music? Like IMDb was a thing back then. Wikipedia hadn't come out yet. But yeah, just people were talking about the idea that if the whole world could come together, we could have all the information about all the records, all the CDs, complete discographies of everything. And I'll back up a little bit too. I was interested in Linux as well and open source software. I'd been using Linux since the 90s. So just saw how that worked really well for software and believed that the same thing could work for data, which is like data on records. So yeah, probably in the late 90s, I started tinkering in my free time, trying to build a prototype. I gave up at one point. Some other people were trying to do it. They didn't get very far. And I picked it back up and I worked a solid 6 months, nights and weekends, building a really simple but functional prototype that worked. And I added 200 of my own records to it and then posted to those mailing lists, told people, hey, check this out. This is what I did. Tell me what you think, try to add a record. And yeah, I guess I was pretty hopeful that they would use it and the idea would resonate, and it did.
Obviously, it has. So I went to the Wayback Machine. People online probably know about the Wayback Machine. You could look at what the Discogs or any website looked at various points in time. Looking at what Discogs looked like in 2001, 2002, it almost seems like a Yahoo type, old Yahoo with the links and the directories that way. Was it envisioned or even developed as a community platform back then, or was it still kind of everything had to funnel through one person updating the site?
I guess it was I did have community in mind. I don't think people were like the word community was in my mind, but collaboration and global was in it for sure. I think like internet communities wasn't a term until later in the early 2000s, but it was me in the first year or so. It was me looking at every submission and manually approving it. And over time, I built in more automation, got more people to help out and approve that data.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a business model in mind of what you were going for, like how it would pay for itself, or it was just you were building it as a passion and you'd see where it went?
It was just a passion. It was a hobby. I tinkered with 2 other websites before that, and I think they made a little bit of money through advertising, but they were just for fun too. And like in high school, I tried to make video games here and there, but those didn't go anywhere. But yeah, Discogs, it was just a passion project. I think I knew that it could get bigger and have all the music cataloged, but I wasn't really thinking about how to make it sustainable. It was just like, this is really cool. And it was thrilling working on it every day, getting feedback from people and building features right away. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now I assume both of you guys are collectors, and we can get into some of your holy grails and stuff that you have. I know Lloyd has a whole rack of records behind him. Discogs, it caters to collectors, which can be some of the most finicky people on the planet. And I recognize that within myself. It'd be a real pain in the ass sometimes, especially when it comes to my records, my collection. How does Discogs kind of walk through that minefield of just having customers with super high expectations?
Yeah, I guess, in a way, we did the impossible by catering to them, by cataloging every nitty gritty piece of information. I mean, we still get requests for new pieces of data to get captured, and yeah, I think it speaks to what collectors want. They want every little piece of information on a record, and they want to track all the unique versions. That was a critical decision we made back in maybe 2005 or so, something like that. So, like, for example, a popular album might have 500 different pressings of it, and we capture every one of those. Where a more casual music fan might say, why is that necessary? They're all the same thing, but
right.
to collectors, they're not the same thing.
Is there a title or a format that was particularly difficult to categorize?
Yeah, classical was difficult. Discogs started as electronic only, and which was kind of convenient because, well, that was what I was interested in, and I thought it was very simple to catalog. Then the community was asking for more. They wanted to add hip hop. And there's obvious crossovers between those two styles. So we went forward with that. Later on, added rock and jazz. And at the time, I was always thinking classical was going to be really hard. But we got there, and the community worked together in the forums to come up with rules and guidelines on how to submit a classical record.
What was particularly difficult about the classical records?
Like they often have multiple. Like the headline artist could be the composer or the conductor, things like that. It was.
Is it Bach? Is it the conductor? Who, is it the presenter?
Yeah, who's the artist here?
Right.
Yeah. Nate, there's another one that we're actually looking at right now that's proving to be not necessarily challenging, but it's a little different than your typical physical music format, and that's in K-pop. So it's huge, undeniably huge genre, and massive fan base, lots of collectors. However, the CDs, the vinyl, the products that have come out, they go on the system like anything else. But there's a whole nother set of products that mixes physical with digital, and we're trying to wrap our heads around it. I know there's our head of discography affairs is working with the community to figure out how to bring something like that in to Discogs, but it has these little, I don't know if you've ever seen these little cards that look like albums, and then you take it close to your phone and it'll unlock the music for some period of time, and so you can listen to it, but then it expires. And so if that product trades hands with somebody else, it still is relevant. Really, the difference is the music isn't imprinted on the product in some way. And so we're having a little bit of debate of where that lives in the physical music world. And is it just a collector's item, or is it physical music? And it's an interesting one for sure.
Interesting. Okay. So now I noticed, and again, this is a community serviced platform. So, there's not one person making every decision, and stuff can sneak in. But it's only for physical form. I've noticed some digital files as well. Someone's cataloging this podcast on Discogs. So, very bizarre. So, is that outside of kind of the what you think it should be?
No. Well, I don't know. It's music history, right? So it's one of those areas where we're kind of letting the community just go with it, because they're what make us great. Their gift, as far as I can explain them, is as particular as folks can get. It's a gift to have that level of engagement with your product and your company, but it's not something that we're necessarily seeking out and asking for people to add to the database, but we're not going to stop it. And there is MP3s and other just digital formats on there. I think Kevin could speak to the decision around that. I believe it has something to do with just allowing full discography because we wanted completeness, right, Kevin?
Yeah, that's right, Lloyd. It's the completeness. Our goal is to have complete artist discographies, and some artists have digital only releases, so it makes sense to have them. I mean, of course, you can't buy and sell a digital release on Discogs, but for completeness, it totally makes sense.
Okay.
But for K-pop, it's interesting because it's not either of those, right?
Yeah.
It's a whole new genre of it's really just a digital key that unlocks the sound, right? And so that's where the debate's coming from. But it's, still a collector's item. I don't know. Somebody's going to figure it out. Somebody way smarter than me. Yeah.
And hopefully it's in the community in Discogs.
Yeah, absolutely, it will be. Yeah,
because you've got things like NFTs and these weird bizarre one-offs, and which I assume are treated kind of like almost like that Wu-Tang CD they only made one of. I guess you have to treat it like a very unique thing. One of the things I've noticed is when it comes to limited pressing, sometimes people limited pressing of or a test pressing where there's only 10 in existence and 58 people say they have it. Some of the bizarre data points like that, I guess that's something that you just have to live with when you have a community run platform.
Yeah, and it's self-reported, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's going to be a wide range of accuracies, and then in the self-reported stuff, inaccuracies. When you're talking about those unique products, we recently had a Velvet Underground 7-inch sell on the platform for $30,000, right? Like massively interesting. And the claim is there's only 10 out there in the world. And those things, it's always fun when those artifacts and special, very unique, kind of like the Wu-Tang only one made record are out there. And then you see them kind of come in to the community and then go through it. It's almost anthropology in a way in the music collector space, right?
Mm-hmm. What is the most expensive item sold through Discogs so far?
Kevin, do you know that off the top of your head?
I think it's this recent one, the Velvet Underground for $30,000.
Is it? Okay, yeah.
There's another one, Scaramanga Silk. I think that only has 20 copies. That was another high seller. I can't remember the price of that though, but it was close. And that was maybe 2 to 4 years ago.
Okay.
I just put a Slack in to the data team real quick, and maybe it'll come up before the end of the call. We do thrive off of these types of really interesting factoids, and so we'll see if it comes out. Yeah, so, they're already typing back to me.
Okay, good. Because look, I'm a data nerd too. You see the data. I mean, directly. Are record sales still growing? Are they plateauing? And share any trends, like 7 inches are slumping off, but 12 inches are going. Like, what is the data showing you at this moment about the purchasing habits of record buyers at this time?
Yeah, Kevin, I'll take the first stab at this. I think there's some really interesting trends that we're seeing on the platform, and our data points give us a unique perspective. We're tracking intent to purchase, so want list. We're tracking what's in your collection, so your collection, and then we're also seeing what's trading on our platform, which is just a component of the market. And if you combine those things together, what I believe we're seeing is the return to the record store. It's a beautiful thing. So we go global pandemic, mail order becomes the thing. Everybody's at home. A lot more collectors now than there were pre-COVID. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've got more people in the market, but there were 100 million things added to collection last year on Discogs, and that is much higher than any of the previous years. Not all of them traded on the platform. So we would assess that they're procuring them either by acquiring collections, or they're going into record stores to purchase them, or buying them, direct to consumer from other platforms. So we're seeing a growth, absolutely, hands down, in purchasing, and probably a return to the experiential record shopping that we were all accustomed to years ago. And that really seems to be something that unlocked after COVID. I know in my own neighborhood here in Denver, if you would have searched for record stores, you maybe found 3 pre-COVID. I searched the other day, and within 5 miles of my house, there's 13 record stores. And so I think it's you're off getting your coffee. There's a record store. You're down heading off to work again, which we're doing again, and there's a record store. And so people are buying records in all kinds of formats. But yes, we are seeing growth in records. And the interesting trend there is it's also pulling with it other physical formats. We're seeing growth in CDs. We're seeing growth in cassettes as well. And so it's not just vinyl.
Is it that there's a growth in cataloging or a growth in the commerce? Because both. Okay. All right.
Both.
So cassettes, I imagine, would be growing because they've they had a little bit of a later rebirth. But something like 7 inches, like used to, we go to a record fair, you see 7 inches all over the place. Now it doesn't. People hardly bother with them. It seems in the physical world. Are you seeing that same kind of trend there?
Ish. Right. So if we zoom in, so if we take pre-COVID, so 2019 to 2023, that's how I like to look at it, because we all had this anomaly where everybody was at home and buying behavior shifted. So we're going to normalize it out by looking 5 years back. Vinyl grew in sales on our platform by 25% since then. Okay, so solid. And if you zoom into vinyl, 12-inch grew 14%, 10-inch grew 5%, and 7-inch grew 14% as well. So it's interesting, 7-inch and 12-inch grew. Now, that said, you're right. 7-inch is for a more discerning, typically more sophisticated record collector, in my opinion. We just did that whole article with the guys from the Black Keys, and they've got their suitcases of 45 7-inches that they're doing the record hangs on, and talking about $600 fines and things like that. It's going to be someone who's far more engaged and probably been doing this for a lot longer. That's going to be in that market, but we are seeing it grow. On top of that, we saw 7 inches during the pandemic in contributions grow by 46%. So you're right. There's more being added to the system. And I think that the more that's in the system, the more that you can discover and find, and then thus, increase the sales as well.
Yeah, because I think if people are getting more and more familiar with Discogs all the time. So, because you're letting more people in the gate, you're naturally going to see those contribution numbers go up. But to me, I guess, and maybe I need to look deeper in the data, that doesn't mean that everything is growing. That means Discogs is growing. That means the sales are growing. But the marketplace, 'cause in my experience, I'm seeing a lot of record sellers start to pass away. And so their collections are now getting kind of flushed back into the physical markets. Yeah. The growth of Discogs, to me, doesn't necessarily equate to the growth of the record or collecting community.
Yeah, maybe. You're right. We only see what we see. But I do have friends kind of around the space, and we're all talking to each other. We just joined the Vinyl Alliance board, which has a lot of varying perspectives in the room as well. And I think what we're seeing is it's not skyrocketing like it was during COVID, but we're still seeing growth. It's just, is a lot, is a little bit, I don't know. Don't have a crystal ball. All I know is there's more collectors on our platform than there were pre-COVID. That's a positive. And then want listing, people intending to buy a record has increased significantly too on the platform, which tells me there's a lot more that people want and are seeking as well out there. But I don't know, right? I wish there was a greater way to look at the whole industry. I think we all want that, right? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, look, Discogs offers a very, unique service, and probably are one of the better abilities to get a perspective on this. One thing I've noticed also about Discogs,
it never crashes. I've never gone to Discogs and it's, come back in 10 minutes or anything like that. Maybe I'm just lucky. Maybe it's being in Australia and off hours, but Discogs seems to be quite stable. Can you talk a little bit about the architecture of the platform? I mean, let's not get too nerdy, but is it, cloud-based, AWS? What is kind of the foundation of the platform? Hey there, audiophiles. If you're seeking stylish furniture to showcase your stereo and record collection, well, look no further than SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Sidetracked Workshop designs extraordinarily elegant record cabinets and consoles that add sophistication and panache to your music hobby. Handcrafted in the good old USA in the vinyl-loving city of Portland, Oregon, Sidetracked Workshop's designs are a music lover's dream. Made with real walnut veneered wood and brass accents, these gorgeous designs add class and taste to the record room and ship fully assembled and ready to enjoy. Just check out the designs for yourself at SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Look, you spend thousands of dollars on records. Don't keep them in a crate, and don't risk your records on those feeble wooden pegs from IKEA. Your music deserves the dignity of Sidetracked Workshop. That's SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Elegant solutions for the vinyl lifestyle. Hey there, all you record nerds. I want to tell you about BagsUnlimited.com. BagsUnlimited.com has a huge selection of vinyl record supplies. Whether you collect LPs, 7-inch singles, 78 shellacs, or anything in between, BagsUnlimited.com will sort you out. From polyline sleeves to cardboard record mailers to 7-inch storage boxes and archive quality record sleeves, protect your records of any size and shape at BagsUnlimited.com. Whether you have a small personal record collection or you're running a massive record shop, you can grab a small supply or even buy in bulk at BagsUnlimited.com. And they've got some really incredible, unique stuff. BagsUnlimited.com even has special size sleeves made especially to protect your box sets, storage boxes and sleeves for cassette tapes, protective supplies for reel-to-reel, and yes, even 8-tracks. Just go to BagsUnlimited.com, click on audio supplies, and prepare to be impressed by all the options they have. That's BagsUnlimited.com. Discogs seems to be quite stable. Can you talk a little bit about the architecture of the platform? I mean, let's not get too nerdy, but is it, cloud-based, AWS? What is kind of the foundation of the platform?
Yeah, so today we're part cloud, part on-prem hardware. We are moving full cloud. We're in the middle of that transition right now. And before that, I mean, going on.
By the way, let me just point out, when Kevin started answering this question, he got a big smile. So I could tell this is the nerd is shining through right here.
Yeah, I mean, part of the way, one of the reasons Discogs was able to get where it did, I think, is because I'm a programmer. I also had the sysadmin skills and was able to figure it out. So like Discogs originally was a spare server, like a mid-tower server, Pentium 2 with, I don't remember how much RAM, and a little hard drive. And it was, I had Linux on it with MySQL, PHP, and I was living in an apartment at the time that had a T1 provided free T1 internet service, which was like the fastest thing you could get back then. Yeah. I think it's 1.5 megs per second or something.
That's a good apartment building.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it was a box in my closet, and eventually had to move to a data center and then a bigger data center. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot more stable now, and we have a great team who's managing it.
But there were times. I want Kevin to tell the story. There were times when the servers were crashing, and you got to tell the story about going camping and how you had to do that.
Yeah, there were a couple of stories, and like once. So it was in my closet for a while, and then the administrators of that network wanted me to put it in the apartment manager's office, or in the closet in their office. So I put it there, and one time someone accidentally kicked the cord. Like I woke up in the morning and it was down, or it had been down overnight or something, and the server's in the office. I had to get in there and found out that someone accidentally kicked the power cord. Yeah, another time. Somebody called, one of the longtime contributors called me out of the blue. I went camping for the weekend. it was down. I didn't know, and I come back and there's a voicemail from this guy who I only knew from online, but somehow he found my phone number and told me, hey, Discogs is down. Is everything okay? I got it sorted. Yeah, and one time I had to take a satellite phone on a camping trip because things were kind of rocky, and I knew how critical it was for the servers to be up. So just as backup, I rented a satellite phone and took it on my camping trip. Luckily, I didn't need to use it.
You take your laptop on the camping trip just in case you got to get in and do a little.
That wasn't possible at the time.
Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. So, so right now you're kind of hybrid. You're part cloud, part on-prem, and one of the things I've noticed is the user interface and the features really haven't changed too much in the last few years. They seem to have stabilized quite a bit, which I took to mean you guys are working on the back end, focusing on that. Is that fair? Or
Yeah, that's right. We have been focusing on the back end. We're in the middle of a modernization effort, and we have more to go on that. But that's going to unlock us to create some new features, and soon we'll be refreshing the front end. Our goal is to make it a bit simpler, easier to understand, and but not lose the vastness of information that's available.
Well, what do you think is missing out of Discogs at the moment?
Well, I have a personal pet feature I'd like to build. That's on my want list. Like every time I'm in a record store, I don't have time to scan my whole want list. I wish we could build a new view where it just shows me the top artists that are in my want list, or maybe if there's any records where I have, like, there's two from the same artist, two or more from the same artist, so I can just go to that section and check.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would save me. That's just for that's my personal desire. I think it would save me time.
Okay, so your personal desire. Now, how about in terms of the usability or what you hear back from the community? What do you think is something that is a problem you're keen to tackle in the very near future?
I think the concept of how we track all the versions of a release, we use the concept of a release and a master release to group them all. And I think we can improve that and make it a bit easier to understand for everyone. Because a new record collector, maybe you're looking for Dark Side of the Moon, you're going to get overwhelmed with information today. Just because we have, there's 1,000+ versions, even more for sale. There's definitely a way to clean that up.
Okay. Is Dark Side of the Moon the most cataloged album on Discogs, or is there something that is even more meticulous?
Yeah, if you go and check out Dark Side of the Moon right now, because they keep repressing it, like every record pressing plant seems to be pressing this record. There's
a machine. There's a plant in Europe that does nothing but Dark Side of the Moon, 24/7. So
and so you say you're a collector and you're looking for a version of that. If you're a new collector, maybe it's your first version. If you're an experienced collector, maybe it's your 50th, right? But you're looking for one specifically. You're going to land on this page and it's going to have 9,000 choices, right? And it'll say 9,000 from 50 cents. One of the things that we want to work on is how do we help you, knowing what we know about you, get you a little bit closer to the version that you're going to want. And so going and pouring through all that information, we see it in the usability studies we're doing right now. People will scroll a bunch and then they'll scroll again and then they'll just bounce. And so we believe that helping to differentiate all the different versions and then get you drilled down to the one that is most interesting to you, and it might be, something that ships in my local area, and then I'm only ever buying mint condition across the board, or I only want original pressings, whatever that is, and gets you just zeroed into it a little bit faster, might be helpful. We don't want to lose any of the other aspects of it, but we want to bring that to the forefront. But one of the challenges I have to tell you, which is a beautiful challenge that we have, is our customers are very vocal anytime anything changes on the website, especially the super engaged ones that are in our forums talking to us all the time. And we're watching and we're reading what they're saying. But as we've done our modernization of the platform, we actually have put out They just don't know it because we're looking for feature parity, new versions of each page, the label page, the artist page, the release page, because we're changing out the back end, as you quite quickly determined. And in that, sometimes we had to change something a little bit. And you would be surprised at how quickly they're just like, no, this is not good enough. We've got to fix that. And we have lists that we're fixing later and some things that we got in and immediately fixed that weren't working for our most engaged customers. And so it's going to be a really challenging exercise to be able to satisfy the really hardcore rabbit hole customers, but help the people who are coming in who are a little bit newer find the right experience in the platform. And one of the things we're going to talk about, as this is being recorded, hasn't been launched yet, but should be by the time we talk about it, is this new want list functionality that we went and bought. And Kevin has this vision for it. Kevin, you want to talk a little bit about the want list and how that might actually help some of these challenges that we're talking about?
Yeah. So one of the long-standing difficulties with using the want list and shopping your want list on Discogs is being notified over and over about the same things as sellers upload their CSVs or refresh their inventory. And some of them have to do that. Like, that's the only way to manage their store. So not everyone is intentionally trying to show the same thing over and over. And also, like, wanting to get more specific about it. Like, I only want to shop from US sellers or UK sellers, or I only want VG Plus or better. So this product Want Lister came out about a year ago, and we've been talking with the creators of it. I thought it would make a good fit into Discogs because they've solved some of these problems already. They're able to suppress the constant relistings and created real-time notifications on things. So say you're looking for a particular record, like this record, I only want near mint, and I only want it from a US seller. You can configure that and get notified immediately when it comes up for sale. Okay. So it solves a lot of problems and helps us bring in these features that people have been asking for a long time. So
when is that available?
Should be available in June. Yeah.
June. Okay.
Yeah. Late May, June. We're working through some things just to make sure that it functions well. One of the things I appreciate about Kevin is he wants to make sure before we launch things that it's functioning, well, right? Because you can put something out like this and it doesn't function so well and really taint the perspective. But it's a really great product. I've been playing with it, and in fact, I in the beta stage was able to find a record. It was a record that just like went way up, sold out at Bandcamp, so it's trading at this $100 range everywhere. And I just set a filter. I called it good price, and then I put it at what it was worth, which was under $35, and sure enough, I got the real-time notification, bought it immediately, and it wasn't up long, and the price of the other record stayed up. So I was able to get in and get it quickly. So it was a good demonstration of how the product can work for you, and the user like the look and feel is a little more akin to something that's more modern as well, which is fun. So it's cool, and I'm really happy that our community built this on our API. And we're reaching out to the API developers that are doing cool things and have cool projects, and we're building relationships with them. And in this case, we liked them and it so much. We're like, hey, could you come help integrate this and evolve the current feature set to the next level? And so they're helping us build it, and we were able to go deeper. Like, they have access all the way back to the data and beyond the API, which allowed that functionality to get even better. So we're really excited about this one, and we're having some fun.
Ooh, interesting. Sure. All right. I don't need another thing to help me spend money, but no, this sounds like a
Get good ready.
All right. So when working with Discogs, I'm sure there's some peaks or some surges, right? aside from like the COVID bump where everyone was staying inside. What sort of events precipitate a surge in activity in Discogs?
I don't know if we've ever seen surges. I know when, unfortunately, when musicians pass away, their records become more popular. We see that. Mm-hmm. There's generally been a increase of buying activity in January. Don't know exactly the cause of it, and sales go down somewhat in the summer. I think that's a normal retail trend. People are outside instead.
Yeah, we have seasonality. Record store day increases for us after, right? So some of the product that record stores didn't move during that time then comes on the marketplace. Folks who aren't in locations where it's easy to get to record stores, or just who aren't going to go and want the convenience, are buying that way. Or, of course, just people who are going out on record store day to procure product that they intend to sell later, and then it shows up on the platform. So yeah, those types of events treat it. And I agree with Kevin. Summer, people are going on vacation, spending their money traveling, and that's great. And then when it becomes a little bit colder in the Northern Hemisphere, we see, record buying going up as well.
What role does or will AI play in Discogs in the future?
Yeah, I guess we have an open mind about it. If there's a way that it could help people on their collecting journey, we'll want to bring that in and explore that idea. I'm also a wee bit cautious about it because people have told us they enjoy the hunt on Discogs, and just like you're in a record store, you want to dig and explore and discover something by surprise. Have that serendipity moment, and I think it's the same way on Discogs. You can click around, dig deep, and find something new. And we don't want to automate that or take that away. I think that's a fun and rewarding process
for some. For me, I would love to be able to say, all right, show me the first pressing of Misfits Bullet single or something like that. And it's where it can cut through the noise and say, here you go. Something like that.
Yeah.
Or if someone's telling me, hey, this is a first press of album X, I can look it up. I don't have to scroll through things before I could determine whether they're accurate or they're not. So,
Nate, I think that's super smart, right? If we look at all of the AI technology that's really been performing well, generating art, whatever else, it's prompted by a human, right?
Yes.
To do a job. And so to the degree we can find that right balance for the collector to be able to prompt it in a way that helps you facilitate that journey you're on, there's probably something really smart in there. And we're just dipping our toes in now. We've been training our database privately, poking around with it, seeing what could be there. And along the same lines of what you just said are things that we've been tossing around internally too, which is how do you prompt it to give you more meaningful results? And we hope something interesting comes from that. I do think AI, unlike some of the other things like NFTs and so forth, where there just wasn't a practical application, that they are finding practical applications for AI, and that'll help move us forward. And aren't you a little bit of an AI expert as well?
I'm not sure I'm an expert on many things.
Yeah.
but look, I do have a nerdy background. I come from a software development. I don't know if you remember Kazaa Media Desktop.
Oh yeah.
I was product manager of Kazaa.
Oh, right on.
Yeah,
cool.
So I spent some time in a courtroom. So that's another topic. But because you guys are built on AWS, yeah? Or you're going towards?
We're partially on AWS.
Okay, so something like Bedrock you can enact to be able to say, okay, show me the seller with all of these or the majority of these Frank Zappa box sets. So I could do a bulk deal out of one person. I'm looking for these different box sets. I don't want to buy one from Germany, one from France. Maybe there's someone who has 3 of the 5 I'm looking for. So it could quickly kind of start to narrow down that ability to, obsessed.
That's the feature I want, actually. When you were asking that question earlier, Kevin has his pet project. Mine is that, which is, help me find the sellers that are going to have the most things that I might want to buy from them, and not just the things that are in my want list. Take a look at what I've got going on and help me find some things that I didn't think to buy. I'm very conscious of the amount of cardboard that's being shipped around the world. And so for me, I'm always thinking, like, how do I get more records per box so that I can still accumulate my record collection at the rate I want to, but not to have like a bunch of one-off shipments. And then also, I think it's a solid duty to help the sellers generate more margin for their transaction.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Less trips to the post office.
Yeah.
What, you've got a lot of people, myself included, that are like, oh, we'd love to see feature X. We'd like to see feature Y. How do you separate the ideas that Discogs really wants to pursue from all the noise that could be around those?
Hey there, I gotta tell you about the Groove Washer. Not because I have to, but because I want to. The Groove Washer is the best record cleaner you can get. And if you have a vinyl collection, you need to keep it clean. Dirt and dust lead to groove wear, which affects the sound and value of your record collection. Use the Groove Washer to clean before each play, and your ears and future pocketbook will thank you. Ask for the Groove Washer by name at your local record store, or go direct to groovewasher.com and use promo code VinylGuide10 at checkout. Groove Washer is a great holiday gift. Why not send one to a friend? groovewasher.com, discount code VinylGuide10. Do it now. Well, hey there, record collectors. There's a new service available that specializes in record cleaning, restoring, sticker removal, and professional grading.
VMGVinyl.com.
VMG Vinyl can help you make the most of your collectible records. From professional cleaning of records and sleeves,
Removing old price tags and store stickers.
dry cleaning and rejuvenation of old shrink wrap to make it look like new, even providing you a professional play-tested third-party grade with either removable grading or encasing in plastic. You have a wide range of choices at VMGVinyl.com.
Buying a highly collectible record and you want it checked out by an expert?
VMG Vinyl can do that too. Head over there now and see what VMGVinyl.com can do for you and your collection. That's VMGVinyl.com, the one-stop shop for professional third-party grading, cleaning, and record restoration. That's VMGVinyl.com.
You've got a lot of people, myself included, that are like, oh, we'd love to see feature X. We'd like to see feature Y. How do you separate the ideas that Discogs really wants to pursue from all the noise that could be around those?
Yeah, we've had to. There's a lot of great feature ideas out there, and we want to implement them all. We're in the middle of a modernization effort right now. It's going to take a bit more time before we can start getting to some of those things. We've also had to make a shift in how we take in those requests. Like in the very early days, I answered every forum thread and said yes to every request, and that I think that got us to where we are, but also created some complexity, which is why it's been more difficult to add things lately, and why we're under a modernization effort right now. So, yeah, but going forward, we take feedback from the community. We talk to sellers on a regular basis, and we have the new community advisory turntable starting up right now, where we have a couple people from different segments of the user base who are going to bring to us their ideas, not just from them, but from the broader community that they're representing.
Okay. Yeah, because I would imagine, and the person I'm picturing in my mind, the Simpsons comic book guy, the loudest person isn't always the right person, right?
That's right.
So, you guys have to filter out a lot of those ideas coming through the tributaries to really say, okay, this is actually going to make it stronger for the entire community or a large chunk of the community. So how does the team arrive at what becomes prioritized from that?
Yeah. So this is where the advisory turntable is going to become really important. And we're going to do it. We don't have it all figured out. We're going to figure it out with the community. But what we know is when you had 3,000 people on the platform versus 100 million, it's different. The signal versus noise ratio is quite high. And then there's people who are active on the forums, which we love. They're on there, but not everybody does that. I don't do that. I don't go into forums and talk. So how do we pull from our base relevant information? We're looking at surveys and we're looking at discourse. So the key to the community advisory turntable is the dialogue back and forth. Sometimes it's hard to read somebody's intention in a Slack or in a forum post. Sometimes it comes with vitriol, and it's just hard to understand what they're looking for, except for that, like, all right, we did something that really caused some frustration here, and it's causing a friction point we need to fix. But if you can get in a room and talk about it, you're going to get so much farther along. And so we want to take these issues up. And if we do our job right and we stack the community advisory turntable with a diverse group of individuals across our three sectors, the collecting, the selling, and the contributing, then we're hoping to get it all out there and spend at first monthly and then over time quarterly in 90 minutes talking about these things, and then taking that information back out to the community, collecting the feedback in that format too, and then also running some polls and some surveys alongside it so that we get a full picture. But it's something that we have struggled with, because it's, to your point, it's like, who do you believe, right? Is it the person who's calling you every 45 minutes? Or is it, you look at the data and it's telling you a different story, and it's like, well, I know that's a friction point for a handful of people, but is it a friction point for everyone? And is your solution that you're presenting to us the right one? Or is it just right for you? And so we're looking for folks who can have that wider lens with us. And the candidate pool has been great. We're really excited. We've got 30 highly qualified people that we're interviewing one-on-one to narrow it down to at least, 3 at the beginning, if not 9 as we get going, to enter into that dialogue, and then really having that window into it somehow.
One thing I've noticed about a lot of the top cataloging lists, top sales lists of Discogs, a lot of Taylor Swift. So and I like Taylor Swift quite a bit. Right? So this isn't a slag on her, but an artist like that is starting to bring in a whole new generation of collectors.
Yes.
And with that, how does Discogs approach incubating those collectors to become productive members of Discogs? Because just going to Discogs, it's like being dropped in the middle of the ocean. How do you get them to start to kind of navigate how to use it and be effective and even be a contributor to the platform?
Yeah, good question. Okay, I'm going to step back just for a second and add a little bit of context into the data that we're seeing that supports what you just said. And so for us, there's this incredibly exciting opportunity for emerging new record collectors. We've seen an increase in the number of record collectors on our platform between the ages of 18 and 24. And we've also seen an increase in the number of female record collectors on our platform too. So both things very, very positive. Not necessarily correlated, but as you pointed out with Taylor Swift, if you look at the top selling records on our platform 10 years ago versus now, more female artists are in that top 10 too. So just diversity across the board. Okay. And so that, I think we should all look at and say, awesome. There are a new growing excitement for this physical format in this world of streaming. We all have a canister in our house that has every song we can imagine, right, on it. Maybe not for us because we're a little more deep into this, but for most people. Yet they're still choosing to go buy records, to go to the record store, to go to Discogs, whatever it is, right? And that just warms my heart. Right? I have a 13-year-old daughter. She goes to record stores. Warms my heart. They're buying records for birthdays for each other, that sort of a thing. So it's really promising. That's the context that I just wanted to put out, is we're seeing it too. Now, how do we approach that? I'm going to kick it over to Kevin, and then I have some thoughts, but I don't know that we have the magic bullet on this one yet.
Yeah, well, I think back what I was talking about earlier. about maybe looking at our how the information is presented and making it a little bit easier to digest. It's gonna help with this. And we see Discogs as an essential part of the collector's journey. So when you're getting your first record, you start researching, digging a little deeper, you'll land on Discogs. And we want to help people on that journey, like discovering music, building up their want list, managing their collection, and looking for ways to acquire more records.
So if you take what Kevin's talking about, we have these tools to help you kind of find your way, right? And if we can distill that down, and we're playing with this, if you come in and you've got a huge collection and you're going after original men never been played, you're one level. Can we deliver a very specific? We'll probably, if you're into jazz, we're going to send you a very specific jazz record, and we're just testing this stuff now. If you're a new customer, we're going to try and get you into the realm of what the possibilities are, and then help you find your flavor in this space. And then using these tools that are out there, based on the community, based on the data reference base, maybe even AI in the future, we'll see, to help you kind of find the things that are going to be warming your heart when you put it on the turntable, records that you love out there. And if we can get that, what we've seen is if you go in and you put in that one Taylor Swift record, okay, there are folks that just do that. And there's not a lot of movement. But once they put in that second or third record, it's over. It's like you just see it starting to pop off. And I don't know if that's just an engagement in our platform thing, or actually what's going on for these folks as they start to build their record collection. They're like, oh, geez, this is really fun. And there's other artists I want to go get. But we do see the trend is it's more new for those folks. It's more reissues. They're going after stuff like that, a little bit less of the older secondhand. Yeah.
I guess my concern, my thought here is not really concern, but these fans, these newbies, right, coming onto the platform and being overwhelmed, because it does have the appearance of a bit of a data. It doesn't look as friendly as some, let's just say, not as intuitive as many of the other sites or mobile places that they go to. So their ability to jump that chasm to actually put it in the first place, to me, I think is, something I haven't had to experience. Those aren't the shoes I walk in. I can understand that. But I think someone coming to Discogs for the first time and then understanding instinctively what they need to do, that to me feels like a gap. Would you agree?
100%.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something we're working on. We're talking to people how to use the site, watching screen recordings of users, and we have ideas on how to how to be less overwhelmed with information.
Yeah, because once you
not lose the magic.
Yeah, no. without losing the magic. Yeah, in some ways, Discogs is a spreadsheet. It's a lot of data, which is great.
We have the new mobile app coming down. It's in beta right now, and you're going to find that experience is going to be a little easier to use for people who are trying to hunt and find things. It's been designed a little more for that. What we found is you're unlikely to be doing deep rabbit hole research on your mobile phone, and that's when people are popping onto their desktop, because you get the big monitor open, you got all the data, and you can open a million tabs and get after it. And so we're actually trying to meet you where you're at and be doing A/B testing and start. Really, this is something that we're just getting into. So we've commissioned studies. We've got lots of great information that have come back, a lot of data, as Kevin pointed, researchers. We're sending people into record stores and interviewing people and talking. So it's really stuff you'll see come down the line over the next year. Mm-hmm. But yeah, 100%, you're right. It is a website that looks like it started in the year 2000. When it did start, right?
if you go back in the Wayback Machine, there's some of those look way older. No,
right.
No, it looks fine. To me, it's like, and I guess we're getting a little bit nerdy here, but like in Salesforce.com, you've got you could have the nerdy view or you could have the lightning view, right? And I think having that, having people be able to choose, do you want the deep and technical, or are you kind of new and you need your handheld a little bit along this other path, just so they could start to become contributors and then choose if they want to jump into the deep water.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our goal. I think we can accomplish both.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people tend to forget Discogs is a platform, but the data is contributed by others.
Yeah.
The items are sold by other people. So if someone's asking an exorbitant amount for a record, it's not Discogs. Discogs is just a bit of a marketplace, a bit of a bulletin board. It's the users that make it a good experience or a questionable experience, but that's not Discogs is actually doing quite a community service. There's a lot of people I know that use Discogs every day that may not purchase, and those are people who. Yeah. Again, it's not free to serve these web pages. So, as an organization, you have to be able to generate enough income to be able to service even the free communities.
Yeah, that's right. Like if we could do this for free, we would, but we can't. And the fees that are generated in each sale are paying for the project is the way that we look at it. And that anytime we're thinking about, and I love this about the way Kevin thinks, is when he thought, hey, the community said we want a marketplace. That wasn't something that he decided. He has the marketplace. He's like, but how do you make this thing even more valuable for the database? And that's why, how much money things are trading for is showing up in the public database as well. So we get this incredible stewardship where we're looking at both sides. We're saying, well, if we're going to do that, how do we help give back to the entire community? Because we know people are using it for all kinds of things, including, people who are just trying to figure out how to collect their rights on the things that they own, and they need to prove that they have the credit on this thing. And that is so incredibly helpful. We have trusts that are coming in and just want to know what it is that they inherited when somebody passes away. And the community build a database that's very, very accurate for them. And now they can go get what's rightfully theirs in that space. And so it's a hard thing to navigate for sure. And we don't take that lightly at all. But yeah, it's, just the amount of traffic we get per month alone racks up quite a bill. Right.
Yeah. And I think we think of it as they're like almost everyone is contributing in some way, even if you're not contributing data to the database. If you put something in your collection or want list, that's feeding a recommendation algorithm, which is helping other people discover something. Or maybe they see the collection count of this release is really high, or the wants to collection ratio is really high. That might spark their interest in it, or even the rating. So people are contributing to this in many ways and creating like a more valuable resource overall.
So looking forward, we recently saw Reddit do an IPO. Is the plan or the thoughts to have Discogs do a similar path at some point?
No. I don't know. That seems really complicated.
Building a global database for every music, that's easy. That's IPO in Wall Street. Oh, too complex.
It's a matter of who do you want to be deciding the fate of this amazing noble cause that we're on? Do we want a bunch of Wall Street investors coming in and deciding the things that should be done, or do we want Kevin and his understanding of the community and his willingness to say, hey, I really want to listen to the folks that made this thing great, and we want to build off of that? It's why I came over, is Kevin answering questions like this, right? Which is, no, we're not for sale. We're here to build something really big that's going to last far beyond hopefully our lifetime, and be able to be passed down and down and down. The second we throw it to the wolves, sorry, I'll probably make some people upset, it's over, right? You start answering to them and lose sight of that noble mission that's been started here. So, I like Kevin's answer.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, that's very clear. There seems to be a very clear vision and stance on that. So
my goal is to stay independent and stay true to the vision and make sure that this data is free and open forever.
Okay. Okay. So let's fast forward 5 or 10 years. What does Discogs look like then?
Like Yahoo. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
like AOL maybe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, more data. Yeah, okay, 5 years. Let's see. 25 million releases, 30 million releases in the database.
Where are we at right now? What are we?
We're
17.
almost at 18.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, easier to use for new users. Probably, I'd like to have better recommendation algorithms, more new ways to discover music, maybe connecting into your streaming accounts, pulling data that way to help recommend things.
If you take our vision, which is the complete collector's journey, so we usually shortcut it, the collector's journey, but the complete collector's journey, and then our mission, which is to fuel and empower record collecting, right? Whatever is going to bolster and make that, satisfy that is what we're going after. A larger discography with more interesting artifacts from all around the world. We're on the hunt for. The head of discography affairs and I are talking about all these really cool ideas that'll help us find these things and surface them. So more information in the database, hands down. Things that people don't even know had existed. We want it all on there, so that'll be more complete. And then if you look at for people who are running their businesses off of it, the sellers that we have, we want a more complete set of tools for them so that they can expand and grow and continue to do this and know more about what's working, have more access to communicate and merchandise and sell the things they want to sell. For collectors, more tools for finding things wherever you are, whether you're buying it on Discogs or not. We just want you to have a great experience. And then on the contributing side, that needs a lot of updating too. There's frames inside of frames, which some people won't even know what I'm talking about when I say it, but I know you do. Mm-hmm. So we want to make that an easier experience so that more people feel comfortable contributing to the database, and then also that it's a more enjoyable experience. There's actually an improvement plan that's in our community right now that's being vetted and everybody's talking about where we help people participate in the contribution in the areas and domains that they're more excited about. So if you're like really into Japanese jazz, like we just want to give you a queue of those tickets to get through. And then if you're in Brazil, we want to have you help the folks ensure that everything's in the right order based on how the release in your area actually is. And so it's a never-ending project. There's going to be so many things that we can do, but we just want to stay true to that original mission and bolster the discography and make it easier and more fun for everybody to be engaged in the platform. And then hopefully get more collectors out there, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
100%. Well, Kevin, Lloyd, thank you so much for coming on the show. And again, I think Discogs is a great service, right? And as I mentioned, there are times where people want to shake their fist at it, and it's frustrating sometimes. But it's not the site itself, right? The site that you have is functional. You keep it up and going. It's a service, and then how people use it is really kind of up to the individual. But to be able to build something like this and to where, at any point of the day, I can look up some obscure item for my quirky little hobby and get a really good dossier on the history of it and the information of it is absolutely incredible. I mean, it's kind of, it's almost a humanity changing thing. You got all these people contributing and, teaching each other about art. I really can't think of many more things that are as important as that. So, what you guys have done, and Kevin, particularly what you've built is, tremendous. And I hope you feel the weight of that compliment, because it really, your work has been very important, and Discogs is a pivotal platform, not just for collectors of records, but really lovers of art. So again, I want to thank and applaud your guys' work in that.
Thanks, Nate. That means a lot. I am extremely proud of it, and it feels like a worldwide team effort that so many people have participated in. I'm just really proud of it and happy.
Well said. Thanks for having us on. I pinch myself every day for being able to work here and have this community. It's a gift.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, thank you guys, and get back to working those feature requests, please.
Will do.
Thanks, Nate. Good being here.
Oh man, that was fun. Sorry if we got too nerdy for some of y'all about clouds and AI and that sort of thing, but look, it's fascinating to me, and I definitely appreciated having that insight. And again, there's an extended version of this interview available anytime. Patreon.com/Vinyl Guide. Head up there now if you want to help support the show and enjoy all the extras. And that's it for this episode of the Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please share these episodes on your social media. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. That helps huge. Putting it in the Reddit forums and the Facebook groups. That's huge too. Much appreciated. And of course, those of you who are leaving us positive reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, 5 out of 5 stars, saying something nice, that's always appreciated too. And we'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, get out there and buy some records, people. Cheers.